All right. Hello to everyone who is still here. It's been quite an interesting day with lots of information from all different kind of aspects of music and technology, and talked a lot about innovation, but we're also going to talk about innovation now from a different angle. But so we're going to talk about what innovation means for music managers, how innovation has changed, how it influences the work of managers and the career of artists. But before we're going to start, I want Jake and Stefan to just quickly tell us what they're doing, what they've done, and why they are thinking about innovation for music as a music manager.
Hi, my name is Stefan. I do the music management for Nina Hagen. And Nina is an artist which always try to get into new ponds and find out about how new technology works. And she's been always on the cutting edge of music production. Well, and through this, I'm constantly in contact with innovation and finding out how to use innovation in music productions. But as well, we're talking lots of the times when we speak to each other. We talk about how do we get some fan-made merch article out of the Amazon Prime, and you just have no possibility to get it out because they say, well, it's not our problem, connect to the vendor. And well, we talk a lot about it. So, what do you do?
I'm Jake Beaumont-Nesbitt, and I'm an artist manager from London, and I'm privileged not to work with any artists currently, which is to do with the change that the investment that you make in an artist's career has gone up exponentially. So you've got to be much fussier in the bets that you take in working with an artist. I'm not the executive director of the International Music Managers Forum, but I'm part of that network, which is a global association of artist managers chaired by Ana Rodriguez in Guadalajara, Mexico. And we discuss the artist business model all the time. And one of the problems we have with innovation is that the industry has been slow to react to it, slow to adopt things, cautious in supporting things, aggressive in claiming harm, and has constantly failed to reinvent itself. So a lot of change in the music industry is pushed in slowly from the outside, and it tends to get driven by the consumers more than the industry.
All right, and would you say that technology enables an artist to do more by themselves and not having to feel the pressure from the industry that kind of like tries to reinforce old models and to kind of like influences the career of an artist in not a really good way? So would you say that artists are more independent through like technology that help them these days, or is it like more overwhelming for them to like deal with all the different things that they have to deal now by themselves because they can't really rely on an industry that's still old-fashioned?
Web3 to me is a bit like the cage is being opened and artists are told, you're free, go out and do everything yourselves. And the majority of them, absolutely the majority, are petrified of that. And so there's often great value in the existing industry stakeholders in helping them, and I'm sure that will stay the same going forward. Chance the Rapper is probably the most important artist of this century so far, in terms of being confident in taking on responsibility, using technology to reach his audience, to grow his audience, and to figure out revenue streams that aren't the logical ones that come from a structure which is based on monetizing property, intellectual property, the sound recording, the musical work, the copyright. And increasingly, artists like Chance the Rapper so he's got 4 areas of operation. He's got live, publishing, he wrote the song, recording, he recorded the song, and his brand, and leveraging that side of it is empowered by technology. It's exciting how the major labels are really actually almost ahead of the curve. They're certainly industry leading at the moment, where maybe 20 years ago, Napster, 1999 disruption, they were pushing back. They've done a really good job of finding opportunities for artists. The problem with the major labels is that they have a very narrow funnel. They can only accommodate so many artists. So if you're with a major label, now's the best time ever to be with a major label. If you're independent, you need to go headlong into independence and develop yourself. And we need more role models like Chance the Rapper out there.
All right, like with Chance the Rapper, he's an example that has access to a lot of information and has access to a network of people who probably educate him on all the stuff that's happening. And he's in a pretty superior position compared to like independent artists and artists that don't have access to all these resources.
Just break down for me again why he's in a superior position.
I mean, because he's at a level in his career that he has people.
But he got there from zero, and
he got there through SoundCloud, and he was one of the artists that got discovered on SoundCloud. He was one of the guys that actually proved that SoundCloud can be a tool to actually make a career just by being present on that platform and using it as like an acceleration for their own career. So no question about that. He actually made it from the bottom up, and but where he is now is in a different position. See, he has now a certain status that he gets information that like an artist that maybe performs tonight somewhere in Liège doesn't have. So I think there's a big gap between like his level and like the level that other artists have.
The data gap.
Yeah, the data and the knowledge gap, I would also call it, because like there's so much information out there, and I think that a lot of artists and a lot of artist managers feel that they don't know where to start. There's like so many buzzwords flowing around, like what to do first. Like, do I need to like be part of the metaverse now? Do I have to like sell NFTs or go into the Web3 space, or do I need to be taking down my stuff from Spotify and only sell it exclusively as NFTs or on Bandcamp? Or like, there's so many different questions that an artist and a manager that don't have any guidance have to deal with these days. So there's like a question, like maybe for you, Stefan, like if you do like the next album release for Nina, is there something that you're focusing and you say, okay, like this is the main priority that we're gonna focus on in order to like get the word out, to market that album, to make sure that we get the revenue streams? Do you do certain deals with like publishers, or you're trying to get like, how is your strategy? Because you're one that is, you're pretty interested in what technology can do, and you're kind of like a well-informed guy. So I wonder how you deal with that overwhelming flood of information and opportunities that you as a manager have these days.
I think this depends hugely on the fan base. Who's your audience? Who you're going to cater to? And to be honest with Nina, we are making vinyl.
All right, that's the trick. So you're betting on like getting like a vinyl edition out there.
We're communicating vinyl because all the fans would like to have vinyl. But on the vinyl, there's the sticker which gives you the download ability so you can have it on your mobile phone. But lots of the fans really want to connect with the artist by having a product which is actually a product which is in their life, which they can put up on their wall and enjoy it. So we go through an old school medium, but we try to implement new stuff into it. The next thing is we're going to have a song which is, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say it. Well, it's a song where the audience is invited to participate in it. And we are using there some services which allow the participation and give them the ability to use it as well for radio airplay. Because when you get the audience to deliver content to you, they want to be part of the project, then you have a rights problem, and so you have to sort this as well. So this is possible now, but it took quite a lot of head scratching.
All right, but you like, since Nina is around for how many years? Like 40 something?
Yes.
So you know, I think that the audience of Nina also changed over the years. How do you know like who is still with her and who is not with her, and who kind of like is there, like if the target group got younger and if they're like more, like you need to go to the fans to actually serve them their needs. So do you like look into data, and if you look into data, how do you find out where the fans of Nina are and what kind of product they would probably purchase and would not?
Well, we use data, and we've got some agencies who tell us how they collect the data. But what I like most is that you look at the data where Nina is most pirated. So you check out Pirate Bay and you can get the data from there. Where are the people who download it illegally? And you try to get these people to give them something which they want to buy. That you have something which is worth something to them.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a really smart move. I've never heard that people look on Pirate Bay where their fans are.
We stole this from Iron Maiden. They did a tour via this. They found out who is pirates the most, and then they did a very big South America tour.
All right. Jake, what would you recommend to, this morning, I don't know if you watched the fan panel, the artist panel. They seem to have they seem to put a lot of work in their, at least two of the artists, in their social media activities and taking care of being engaged with their fans all the time. And do you see that as a necessary thing in order to survive as an artist? And would you, as a manager, even though you said that you're not a manager to artists right now, but would you recommend a manager to outsource this and kind of get involved in that? Or is that something that an artist should do really intensively themselves? Or would you say that's not the most important thing to do in order to pursue a career and to sell stuff and survive?
We used to have a one-size-fits-all model. So Iron Maiden and Nina Hagen were basically in the same business, or Arabian Prince. They're selling CDs and maybe they're selling tickets. And now we're into what exactly his first answer is, who is our audience? So when he's assessing the strategy for Nina, as he said, it's who's her audience? So it's a mistake to give a simple approach for any artist as to what their strategy should be. Their strategy should be governed by two things. What's authentic to them, because that's the key to them having longevity. You can blow something up short term and get a lot of hype around it, but the audience will drift away if something's not authentic. So you need to really home in on authenticity, which becomes an issue on the licensing discussion and dealing with tech. And then the other thing you need is to know the audience. And it's one of the hardest things for artists to understand. There's a great story that's been told in public enough times that I feel confident repeating it, which basically involves when Dire Straits, at the point where CDs were the thing, and effectively the music industry had been reinvented, and an older demographic came in. It was no longer teenagers. It was kind of the first, at the point of CDs, was the first time older people were spending spare money on music products. So Dire Straits, at some point in time, were the biggest band in history in terms of their revenue. And they got very upset and angry with their audience because their audience weren't crazy punk kids. It was middle-aged, middle-class people rattling their jewelry. And it's really hard for an artist, even at that level, to know who their audience is. Once you've established who your audience is, communicate with them, look at their channels. Are they on Pirate Bay? Are they buying a load of merch? What do they want? And connect with them that way.
Nina does her webpage on herself. She's her own webmaster, and she does her social media, Facebook, herself. There were sometimes tries from different record companies to get involved in there, but the fans always knew what's from Nina and what's from somebody else. And Nina engages directly with her fans through these mediums. But I think this is a very intimate situation by communicating between the artist and the fan. And I always have the problem that there's a third party involved which tries to monetize the heck out of it. And I think this is the chance of Web3, that there will be a direct connection and a direct plane which they can meet on, and it doesn't have to be branded by some blue F company.
So you think that, or you believe, or you feel like the middleman, the platform, the facilitator of these conversations that Nina or that artists have with their fans is a kind of a problem because it kind of like influences the intimacy between like the intimacy of the fan-artist relationship, and the communication would be way more flawless and way more honest and way more direct if there wouldn't be a platform in between. And there would be another system in place. And do you think that Web3 could actually make that happen?
So let's put it this way. You wouldn't marry at a McDonald's. So what's happening is that there is a big marketplace where people and their time is monetized. And they're really good at this, and they're trying to get the best currency, which is human eyes, on the product. And they try to do this as good as possible. And then you set up your little artist Bandcamp thing in there and try to be very serious about your music, and you believe in it. But all around you is the craziest advertisement which you can imagine, which is like with sniper scopes looking for every sentence you make. I'm not sure. I think there is a big chance that you can have a better conversation between artist and fan in a different place.
Do you want to add something to that?
Just an example of that is the platform Audius, audius.co, which is a blockchain-based, it's nothing like Spotify, but effectively if Spotify allowed groups of artists to curate a store where they controlled the content that was on there and they controlled the price, that's what Audius does. So that an artist could issue music for free to the initial listeners. They could change the price based on territory, engagement, and they can have a conversation with the audience. The K-pop band BTS have been fantastic in their fans have self-organized, run advertising campaigns for the band, the British fans competed with the Korean fans to see who loves them the most. And that element of the audience organizing itself and taking control of the commerce is the most extreme iteration of removing the intermediaries, if that's a platform. And we're increasingly seeing low friction platforms. One of the important things, the previous panel was looking at climate, and it's as they expressed, it's very difficult to deal with the climate problem in the live area, but a lot of work's been done on that, and there's some optimism from the previous speakers. One of the problems we have online is the big platforms that are trying to aggregate all these eyeballs have an agenda to maximize returns by focusing us on a very limited supply of content. So the film industry is now fewer and fewer films with larger and larger audiences, and that's kind of happening in music. And a way to spread the footprint of music is to support artists from Chile, artists from Korea, make a much more local or genre-based. We need more diversity in the artists getting through so that we have less concentration around mega shows, mega platforms. And solving choice and discovery is something that I would love the innovators at Wallafornia to really think about, is not just how do we disintermediate the platforms, but what are the platforms doing wrong? What I think they're doing wrong is they're aggregating all the eyeballs around the lowest common denominator, the most frequently focused artists. How does someone make a business out of scarcity, specialization, and choice in music?
And I think the biggest thing in the fan-artist relationship is authenticity. And if the social media approach from the artist, you have to see it like a stage where they perform on for their fans. And you need to find the right place where they can perform. And you have to give them the ability to accelerate in the communication with the fans. And I'm very thankful that there are more and more platforms popping up. and there's more crazy experiments. Nina's gonna do a live TV show, and it's gonna be interesting because the fans will be able to directly communicate with her. Well,
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like there needs to be more like room for experimentation and more brave people to actually say, okay, we're gonna do this crazy thing. We do a TV show with like direct communication with fans. But like when it comes to like this like fractionalization of like of genres and groups of people who listen to music and to discover music. Like always have to, like this is so little mentioned on conferences, Bandcamp, and I still don't understand why it's so little mentioned, because that's exactly what happened there. So you could actually discover little niches and places of music that you were not aware of, that you don't get directed to on Spotify, because Spotify wants you to stay in your own bubble, wants you to stay on the service, and Bandcamp did all this. They just did a really bad job in being digital and making it accessible for people on their phone and all the kind of stuff. People are hoping that this is going to change with like Epic Games. So there were a solution out there, but it was not really heavily used. But I totally agree, and I think there I also see the big potential of how do you say, like I don't want to get into this NFT topic because I have a bit of a different opinion on that. But if a fan can participate on the success of an artist, then the fan will do their best in order to promote the artist. And where I see the big chances, and that's something that I also wanted to ask you what you think about that, is that if I'm a fan and I'm playing a certain computer game which has a huge community, but I'm listening to Nina Hagen, which I guess the majority of fans are not computer game players, like she could reach out to new fans because the fans gonna promote her music in a computer game that usually don't have fans of her. So what I wanted to say with that I'm totally with you with the BTS Army concept and all that kind of stuff. They did a brilliant job of like actually using their artists in order to have like a free marketing channel on all sorts of places. So I believe that the opportunity of using fans as a marketing channel for artists, there's a huge opportunity in that, and that can be solved by having the fans participate in the success of an artist. And I think a good way for that can be Web3, but there can be also other ways. And I was just wondering how you think about that kind of approach in order to like let fans participate in the success of an artist. Is there something that you feel there could be a future in that?
I think there's a big future in this, but this has to be tailored to each artist and to his needs, to his audience. And I'm pretty sure at the moment there are not too many Nina Hagen fans trying to play World of Warcraft. So we will have to adjust to the audience and give them a chance to discover new music.
But that's not what I meant. I meant like let's say Nina Hagen fans are all sorts of like let's say there's a Nina Hagen fan club that is big in bowling, and they have a bowling tournament, and they actually play Nina Hagen songs on the bowling tournament that other bowling people could actually. I didn't mean like the games as the one source. It could be everything, like where fans are.
It's precisely what I try to say is you have to tailor the campaign to your audience. And if you have the feeling that this is where you should go, go. But you have to look and find out where you want to go and then go there.
This is a great responsibility that wasn't there in the CD era. The choice for the fans in how they consume and engage is increasingly diverse, and it's the artists who want to tell stories and share their art. They can create their own space and see if people come to them, always sticking with authenticity, or they can go where the audience are and respond to the audience. With the tokenization thing, a lot of the discussion is on finance and potential investment. I think there's loads of opportunity there in a sort of air miles model for social tokens, for tokenization that's not necessarily, I bought this, it went up in value, or it earned me a rate. And tokens can signify participation and inclusion And then that comes back to, okay, what's the relationship between the authenticity of that artist and the aspirations of that audience?
Precisely. That I agree.
Yeah, so but which is also part like a lot of identification, like the fans need to identify with the artist, and the artist needs to know who are their fans in order to like make them identify with themselves. So do you see like other ways of fan engagement with an artist that that we have today in like, let's say, in 3 to 5 years from now on, besides Facebook platforms and all that stuff that we all don't like, but we need to use these days, or artists needs to use these days? Do you think that there will be different, like realistic, not some like dream castles, like realistic things in 3 to 5 years that will be different and more direct?
Yes, and I don't know that the artist does need to do those things today. It's the risk taker. So with Sia, she was like, I don't want to do all this PR stuff. I don't want to be putting my face out there. So she did this thing with a wig, and then other people would wear the wig that were representing different facets of her personality, and she became huge. You can be a recluse and grow large. You can be someone that makes a social point that I disrespect Facebook and their platforms, I'm not going there. You just need to be authentic and true to yourself. And there is currently no formula, which makes it very hard to discuss what should I do, but it's like stick to the principles.
Yes, and I'm very optimistic that the platform, the new aggregator platform, which will respect the privacy of the artist and of the fan, is already in existence and will be bigger in 5 years.
All right. Curious about what's happening in 5 years. But all right.
You
cool.
asked.
Huh?
You asked.
Yeah, but you didn't tell the platform that is already in existence and will be bigger in 5 years. So I'm wondering what kind of platform that's going to be, and if that's already happening.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be a aggregation platform where you can consume content, and there will be an algorithm which will send you more of the stuff you like. But it will be done in a not so intrusive way.
If you take that as a pure expression of direct to consumer, so B2C, the artist business with the consumer, there's more and more opportunities for that, and artists like Chance the Rapper will play around with it, and there'll be success somewhere. There's still going to be the B2B problem, which when we talk about artists and managers, we tend to focus on fan acquisition, but there's all this stuff with the traditional industry in between. And for the tech startups, when they come to talk to the music industry, they have to talk to rights holders, labels and publishers, because they need permissions to use the music. They then, at that point, don't get buy-in from the artist. And if you're a rights holder, you have a very limited number of parameters through which you're looking at a license. You're looking at exclusivity, time, how long it lasts for, price. It's very, very narrow. An artist is going, okay, the money's right, or I don't need money for this because I find it interesting. The time's right, the exclusivity's okay, but I'm separately focusing on telling this story or looking in that direction, and I can't come to the table right now. We need to figure out ways for innovators to talk at an earlier stage with artists where the rights holders are following on behind and can be included in that engagement. We can't currently do that from a contractual perspective, because if you speak to an artist, a lawyer, music industry lawyer, and say, how do we allow, let's stick with Chance the Rapper, how do we allow this startup to pay him a fee to participate or work with them for his participation, his brand rights, licensing his brand, and then we also bundle in a payment to the publisher and a payment to the label. This fundamental value, the artist brand, which is the capital that attracts the audience, which is therefore the value that the startup most wants to connect with, is not on the table in the negotiations. And we need to find a way, and the opportunity with Web3, etc., is to simplify to a one-stop shop how you license music but it's really important all the startups talk very early to artist representatives.
So there needs to be more bridges and more connections being built between networks of artists and networks of innovators and startups.
The internet is always good in doing one thing, and this is cutting out the middleman.
Yeah, and one of the easy ways to cut out a middleman, I just wanted to make one last point because it was mentioned in the panel before that the most money artists make these days is in live and not so much on like, at least for independent artists. And they kind of like try to survive in the live business. And there's a lot of innovation happening there as well. And that's my last question that I'm asking you. Do you actually research what's happening in the live sector, what can be done in kind of like innovating that space to open up more revenue streams for an artist? For example, I'm a mentor for a startup here called Hawker. They mentioned that in the panel before as well. They do like kind of like a service where you can actually reduce waste and all kinds of stuff, and you as a fan can basically order merch on the spot via a QR code and have it delivered to your home, and at the same time the artist can actually fill up a store and sell it on the event, but also after the event via an app. So there is like a constant opportunity of a revenue stream, even if you don't give concerts for the artist, and a permanent opportunity for a fan to actually get merch. And there's probably other stuff out there as well that allows fans who are not on social media, or for artists who refuse to be on social media or doing any PR, to actually still make money and open new revenue streams. So I wonder, it's my last question, how, if you research that kind of like area, and if so, what you would advise an artist to actually dive into that and see if there's an opportunity. Is the live innovation sector something that you deal with?
It was kind of merged with the audience relationship. So I think we see the relationship between the audience as portable across live, across radio, across platforms. And so connecting participation at a live event, for example, through tokenization, that you got a proof of attendance for being there, and then giving that some unspecified value that maybe in 2 years' time the artist's like, hey, everyone who was at that thing, we've got a really good recording of it, or a photo, it's free. So it's like this gradual merging of all of the interfaces between the artist and the consumer, be that live or streaming or whatever, they're merging. And this is where it makes it really, really important that the tech sector can have a direct discussion with the aggregated rights, because they're historically being fed a fragment of some of the rights.
And there's lots of innovation there happening already. So for instance, die einstürzenden Neubauten, you can, when you go see a live show, you can, when you leave the show, go there and buy this live concert on an USB stick and leave it, and this, it's not a best of, it's precisely the show you saw, which is amazing. And it's a way to, it's a special day for the fan when they can see their artist perform live, and they will have this moment with them.
That's awesome. I didn't know about that, but that's what I meant. Like, there's so much opportunity in that part of the business where artists already make money, to give them opportunities to make more money, and not so much plan in 3 or 5 years in the future, but help them right now what they can do to actually make more money with what they love to do anyway, performing live.
But it's about giving something relevant to the fan. It's not about the money.
Always.
It's about to give something which the fan really would like to have. Because by this, they reduce all the mobile phones recording this, and you sit there and say, enjoy the concert. Don't look on your mobile phone.
Yeah, that's
And
smart. Cool. All right, we are way over time. Sorry for that. And thank you for your insights and your opinions on that. And yeah, thanks for being here again, Joe.
Thank you so much, guys. Do you have questions, guys? Yes.
All right, hi, I'm Atte from Singer. Most startups or tech companies or DSPs or whatever, when they license let's say, a blanket license in order to use and monetize and then return that money to the artist, it usually has a list of excluded writers, artists, or whatever in the blanket license. And as it turns out, those exclusion lists are rarely contractual. They are more artist relations issues. So therefore, the artist needs to be made aware of the opportunity so that then the artist can tell the publisher or the label that, okay, I can be taken out of the exclusion list. And so how can a startup do that pitch? And if that pitch is to be done through a manager, what is the format that a random tech company just cold pitches you in an email about an artist that you're representing?
With the cold pitch, I would make sure that there were mentions in the email that specifically understood the artist's agenda, for example, referenced actions that they'd supported before or where their audience was to point out a synergy, rather than we're a startup and we're doing this amazing thing that changes everything. It's most startups, we've heard the concept broadly 1,000 times, and we're looking for the person who's going to do a great iteration of it. So it's like, is this just a cold pitch because you're trying to complete the list of artists so you can go back to your investors and say, we've got all these artists? Or has there been some research there that makes it relevant? And in terms of the direct access, it's so hard for the startups to directly reach the artists. So in the music industry, we have metadata that identifies the property. The ISWC identifies the composition and lyrics. The ISRC identifies the recording. There is ISNI that would identify the name, the persona, the artist, for example, Nina, and it's not widely adopted, and it's not necessarily the definitive way we can do it, but we need to make it much easier, again, maybe Web3 solves that, for someone like you to know that they're contacting the business side rather than they're just spamming a website that may ultimately be run by the record company.
My advice would be, do the research on the artist, try to find the artist webpage, send them a really well-written email, and they will pass it on to the management if it's relevant to them. And most of the time, the management will say, if the artist even says no, the management will write back and say, thank you for your mail, but it's not happening. But try the direct communication line.
All right. Any more questions? All right. Then
Thank you
thanks,
very much.
everyone. Thanks
Yes.
you.
Thank you, guys.